Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly gripping, absolutely devastating short story called Ricochet. If you're into deep character studies or, plots that wind up like a tightly coiled spring before violently snapping, well, you're going to absolutely love this. We are going to break down the anatomy of this tragedy piece by piece and figure out exactly how a quiet life in a gorgeous valley just completely unravels.
So to really get what's happening here, we got to look at the author, Angela Knoll, and her core premise. She builds this whole narrative around a terrifyingly universal concept, the fundamental human urge to possess things. And, to possess people. The text explicitly points out that possessiveness is deeply baked into who we are. When our possessions get taken away, the resentment is intense. Knoll suggests that with enough pressure, literally anyone could be driven to the ultimate act of violence. Just think about our modern, everyday lives for a second. How often do we see bitter lawsuits, family estrangements, or incredibly toxic relationships pop up just because someone feels entitled to own another person's choices? It happens all the time. Knoll basically takes that everyday human flaw and pushes it to its absolute tragic extreme. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to look at two brothers, one tragic valley. Then, the disease that ignited disaster, followed by designing the deadly trap. After that, we'll see when plans ricochet, dig into character motives and themes, and finish up with the ultimate moral dilemma.
All right, Section 1. Two brothers, one tragic valley. Let's set the scene and look at the simmering tension that builds the foundation for this whole disaster.
We're in this beautiful, isolated Welsh valley, but trust me, it is far from peaceful. The source text actually condenses the absolute core of the conflict into just 9 punchy words. 2 brothers, 1 house, 1 woman, 1 child. That's the whole powder keg right there. We've got Owen Parry, who's been brooding on life's injustices for years in this musty little riverside cottage. And then there's his brother Hugh, living it up in the comfortable stone farmhouse. The woman? That's Rhiannon. They both loved her, but she married Hugh. And the child is young Margot. Here's the kicker. Owen believes Margot is actually his daughter from a past encounter with Rhiannon. He is completely consumed by this idea that Hugh possesses everything that rightfully belongs to him. The farm, the woman, the kid, all of it. It's just waiting for a spark.
And, well, that spark definitely arrives, but in a totally uncontrollable form. Section 2. The disease that ignited disaster.
So an outbreak of foot and mouth disease hits the area. Now, if you know anything about agricultural communities, you know this is literally a worst-case scenario. By compulsory order, their entire flock of sheep has to be slaughtered. But it doesn't stop there, which makes it even more heartbreaking. Their incredibly smart, loyal sheepdogs have to be put down too. Even Beth, the dog they all loved the most, especially little Margot. The source text lays it out perfectly. The slaughter of the flock it was that finally set the fire alight. Owen's silent, simmering menace finally had a real reason to just explode.
The really crucial point here is how the two brothers react to this absolute nightmare. Owen? He wants to hide just one slobbering ewe. He wants to douse the place in gallons of disinfectant, do whatever it takes to skirt the rules and save their livelihood. But Hugh is a different story. Hugh is this upright, God-fearing chapel man. He marches straight to the telephone and calls the authorities himself, officially setting the nightmare in motion. It's kind of like a modern-day corporate whistleblower, right? Someone doing the strictly right thing according to the rule book, but completely destroying a life in the process. Owen has to sit there and watch Hugh rigidly follow the law, tossing Owen's feelings aside. That lifetime of resentment, it slips right over the edge into something way darker. He entirely blames Hugh for destroying their world.
Driven by grief, jealousy, and this incredibly twisted sense of justice, Owen crosses a line he can never come back from. Section 3. Designing the deadly trap. And this brilliantly illustrates the cold, mechanical premeditation in Owen's mind. He doesn't just lash out in a fit of rage. He methodically designs a trap. First, he sets up 2 wooden chairs in his cottage, back to back. Then, he lays his own shotgun across them, aiming it dead center at the door. From the trigger, he loops his string right to the door handle. The trap is perfectly set for Sunday afternoon. You see, Hugh is supposed to come over to talk about the farm. When Hugh throws that door wide open, the string jerks tight and bam, the gun fires. And the wildest part? Meanwhile, Owen is safely hanging out in the village, chatting with Mrs. Price of the grocery, and sitting in chapel, creating an absolutely watertight alibi for himself.
But as we all know, things in the real world rarely go exactly as we script them. Section 4. When plans ricochet. The plan ricochets. This is the agonizing climax of the story. Owen is sweating through this cold Sunday afternoon, leaving the chapel and heading back to his cottage to discover his brother's body. But earlier, the text reveals a massive secret. Hugh had cheated. Yeah, rigid, rule-following Hugh never actually slaughtered the beloved sheepdog Beth. He just couldn't bring himself to do it, so he hid her away. And Margot, absolutely delighted, must have found Beth, let her loose, and they both bounded down the hillside to tell Uncle Owen the amazing news.
So we are left with this horrific freeze-frame moment of suspense. Who actually opens that door? When Owen finally bursts into his cottage, he doesn't find his brother Hugh. Instead, he finds young Margot and the sheepdog Beth sprawling on the floor. Beth bounded at the door ahead of Margot. The innocent animal takes the fatal blast from the shotgun, dying right there on the floor. Margot is physically unhurt, but she is profoundly traumatized. She's covered in the animal's blood, and she eventually flees into the night, running straight back into the arms of her father. Hugh. And Owen? He's just left standing alone in his cottage, his mind an absolute vortex of horror and bewilderment.
It is a breathtakingly grim resolution. Which brings us to Section 5, Character Motives and Themes. Why did it have to end this way?
If we look at the psychology of these two men, it's clear they're fundamentally incompatible. Owen is defined by his jealousy. He is dangerous, he's emotional, and he's deeply confused by his own desires. He literally views Rhiannon as a prize and justifies murder to get what he wants. On the flip side, we have Hugh. Hugh is described as this black-haired giant. He's rock-strong, rigid, and loyal to a fault to the law and to his god. But Hugh's rigidity completely lacks empathy. He doesn't understand the emotional devastation his brother is going through until it's way too late. Ultimately, it's the clash of Owen's unchecked emotion slamming into Hugh's unyielding structure that causes the explosion.
Now, zooming out to the broader forces at play here, we've got jealousy, family, violence, secrets, animals, and justice. The story really asks us, which of these is actually the most dangerous? Is it the physical violence of the shotgun, or is it the secrets? Think about it. Rhiannon kept the secret of Margot's true parentage. Hugh kept the secret of hiding Beth. Owen kept the secret of his deadly trap. Ultimately, this is a story where every single secret violently backfires.
And that brings us to the most engaging part of the source material, Section 6, the ultimate moral dilemma.
When we visually rank these characters from innocent to guilty, it forces us to figure out where to place the blame. Down at the best end, we have Beth and Margot. They are the absolute, pure, innocent victims of these massive adult failures. Then we have Rhiannon, who's complicated. She was scared, she lied to protect her marriage, but her secrets absolutely fueled Owen's rage. Then there is Hugh, leaning toward bad because of his unyielding rigidity. I mean, he called the inspectors, setting the whole slaughter in motion without even consulting his brother. And finally, at the worst end, is Owen. He let his jealousy turn him into a literal murderer. But is it really that black and white?
Is Owen, in some ways, actually a victim? I know his actions are monstrous, but look at his life. He lost the woman he loved. He's completely alienated from the child he firmly believes is his. His livelihood and beloved animals get destroyed by the state, with the help of his own brother. In his twisted mind, he was just taking back a life that was stolen from him. Honestly, we see this all the time today, don't we? People who retreat into these isolated echo chambers of their own grievances, convincing themselves that their profound sense of injustice gives them the absolute right to commit terrible, destructive acts. Our sources challenge us to debate. Is Owen purely evil, or is he deeply, tragically sad?
Which leads us directly to this question. Is the ending fair? It's a bitter irony, isn't it? The title, Ricochet, perfectly describes the grim justice at play here. Owen tried to steal Hugh's life by force. Instead, his trap kills the one creature he truly loved, the dog, Beth, and forever traumatizes Margot, driving her physically and emotionally right back to Hugh. Owen is left with absolutely nothing. No family, no love, no dog, and the agonizing knowledge of what he almost did to his own daughter. It is a terrifying kind of karma.
So I'll leave you with this final, lingering thought. What is the true cost of jealousy? Ricochet brilliantly illustrates that the human urge to own another person doesn't just harm the target of your envy. Much like a bullet fired in a closed room, that toxic urge will bounce off the walls, shatter your own life, and destroy the very things you were trying so desperately to hold on to.